Evening, folks. Dr. Freedom here with you. Time some Doctor News from in and around the universe that may or may not make you want to go, oh, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, blah 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 blah, shalom lama ding dong. But as of course the usual weirdness going on out there now. Yeah, Eccleston's book comes out, very revealing stuff going on there. He also did a panel at Rose City Comic Con. And from what I've heard, he spoke a lot. He's brutally honest about things that went on behind the scenes. And I keep telling people, you've got all these guys out here in YouTube land claiming, I know the top secret information. No, you don't. Oh, man. Also, word's been drifting around. Now, this is speculation. And this is just something that's being hashed out as probable, okay? It's not definite, it's probable. But so far, from what I'm hearing, there's a good chance of a trailer come October. Why am I out of focus? Ah! Oh, there we go, see? Chance for a trailer October 13th. Very sorry about that. The camera went weird on me. So chalk it down. Apparently, there is a match going on that day as well, so they may even do it halftime. Like I said, it's probable. It's not definite, so keep that in mind. Right, but chalk it down. A lot of people are speculating October 13th for a trailer for Series 12. We'll have to sit back and see if it's true. Let's get into the news, shall we? Okay, folks, here we go, right into the news. Doctor Who star Christopher Eccleston reveals his battle with anorexia that almost drove him to suicide. He revealed that he had anorexia while playing the Doctor. He also revealed he was struggling with serious mental illness during the series, and he describes himself as a lifelong body hater in his memoirs. Very, very revealing stuff coming out with, Chris Eccleston's memoirs. And you run through this article, it's like, my goodness, he was in a battle with anorexia and depression that almost drove him to suicide. And he also claimed here, if you go down a little further, that during the filming of the A-Word, he began to contemplate suicide and rang a psychiatric hospital for help. He said, quote, I was in a state of extreme anxiety, convinced I was either going to die or I was going to kill myself. In my despair, I reached for my phone and looked up a psychiatric hospital. I rang ahead, grabbed my bag, and ran. And while laying awake in the hospital, he said he was convinced he was going to die. Quote, I was 100% sure I was in the last few weeks of my life, end quote. And it's just, so revealing when you find out, what people were going through at that time. Like we found out years later that Michael O'Hare, who was the first commander on Babylon 5, played Commander Jeffrey Sinclair. We found out he was struggling with schizophrenia. And it wasn't revealed till after his death by Joe Michael Straczynski that this had been going on, because he swore him to secrecy and said, look, do not tell anyone until after I'm gone. And a lot of people just don't realize that, actors are human too, that we all have our flaws, we all have our, various quirks and, things that drive us around, drive us in our lives. And it was just, so revealing that we found this out, what he was going through, behind the scenes while he was, doing this. But also, if you want to hear some more, somebody's put up Chris Eccleston's panel at Rose City Comic Con over here on YouTube. I'm going to leave a link for you for this as well, because from what I heard, I haven't had a chance to listen to all this one yet, that he was not, the least bit inhibited about talking about various issues he had apparently on the show. From what I read, a one-person summary, he said that one of the reasons he didn't agree to do the 50th was the fact the BBC did not apologize to him for blacklisting him after he left the role as the Doctor, which they did. They got caught with their hands in the filthy jar. They really did. They really blackballed him because he refused to come back and do another series. And he also goes into more detail from what I've heard, because I haven't listened to all this yet, but I'm just giving you a summary from what I've heard. So he doesn't hold back. So you may want to give this a listen. It's about 43 minutes. It's worth the listen. Also, we have some Series 12 Episode 1 casting news. Do not worry. All it is a name. We do not know who they are playing. And that's Dominique Maurer. And that's all we know. It's just a resume. They're listed as Browning on IMDb, but the problem is IMDb, not all that reliable. And of course, we already know, because this has been all over the news, that Stephen Fry is in Episode 1. So that's not a spoiler. But then again, you don't know what is a spoiler. If you want to hear a laugh and a half, people, a group of people were on an It forum, and they were talking about It Chapter 2, and somebody said they felt the ending where it turned out that Pennywise was an alien was lame, and they were immediately attacked for spoilers. And I'm like, this book has been out since 1990, people. Ugh. Colin Baker says he was selfish not to film Dr. Regeneration scene. He said, quote, I forgot about the fans. Now, here's one thing. I have never, ever, ever, ever blamed Colin Baker for not doing that regen scene. Matter of fact, a lot of people ask, why didn't Mary Tam do one for Romana? They never asked her. And Colin Baker, they had just got done, basically, well, to put it in polite terms, he got boned hardcore. The BBC treated him lower than whale shit. I don't blame him for not doing it. So I never held it against him. But apparently he feels bad about it now, having not done it. But at the same time, if you go listen to Big Finish, I believe it was The Last Adventure was the name of that particular one, where they do something a little more than making it look like he fell off an exercise bike. They gave him a little bit more of a better regen story than just, oh, look, there's Sylvester McCoy lying on the ground in a blonde hair wig. So it's just, I don't blame him one bit at all. I do not fault him at all for not doing this. But, of course, he had that appearance at the BFI this past weekend. All right, Billie Piper, what has she been up to lately? And this is a nice little roundup over on Anglophenia about various, episodes and series, that she's done since Doctor Who. So if you want to run through these real quick, be sure to do so. Things like, she's working on that big project she's doing now, Rare Beasts. I believe she's directing that one, if memory serves. And it's just nice to see, she's out and about, she's doing more. Also, if you haven't listened to it yet, I've listened to the Big Finish collection. They had Rose Tyler, I believe it was called The Dimension Canon. I listened to that today, and it's very well done. I just really enjoyed it. Okay, David Tennant reportedly being eyed to play the villain in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we've seen Tennant do villain roles before, especially if you've you've seen movies like Bad Samaritan, or you've watched series like Jessica Jones, where he played the Purple Man, Kilgrave. And I died laughing because a lot of people were going because he used his English accent he used for the Doctor and as Kilgrave. And people are like, great, now I don't know if Rose Tyler was picked up or held hostage or whatever. But it's, nice to see Tennant's getting more work. The guy is damn, he's all over the place, between Good Omens and all the other things he's done. Okay, step into the TARDIS with the new VIVE Cosmos, or VIVE Cosmos. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Let me know. All right, HTC has teamed up with BBC Studios to offer the chance to embark on a virtual reality adventure through time and space with Doctor Who. On Friday the 26th and Saturday the 27th of this month, visitors to Hackney's Protein Studios in London will have the chance to step into the TARDIS and take up the role of Doctor's assistant in Doctor Who, The Edge of Time. And their HTC is celebrating the launch of the VIVE Cosmos, its latest premium-based PC virtual reality system. Now, attendees will be amongst the first to try Doctor Who: The Edge of Time, produced by Maze Theory for the BBC Studios. After stepping into the TARDIS, players will interact with the Doctor themselves and will try to pilot the spacecraft, which is temperamental at its best, before embarking on an epic adventure to solve the mystery behind the reality virus. Now, fans can sign up for a free 50-minute slot here or simply turn up on the day to secure a walk-in slot, subject to availability. Players must be aged 12 and above. In closing, it's like I said, I wish I had more news so I could pop up for you more often. I've also been writing the last chapter for What Lies Beneath because I want to move us into a new story before the end of the year. It's just when you try to wrap up a story, I knew where this story was going to end. And now, it's trying to get all the pieces in place. And it's always the most difficult part because there's some parts where you'll notice when I'm doing these stories, I just go off because sometimes you have to go where the story takes you. And it's just, I've had ideas in mind for scenes that never happened because it didn't feel right when I sat there and thought it out. It just seemed to be a rehash of things we already heard, things like that. But it's not as easy to write things as you may think it is. A lot of people seem to think Big Finish just goes out there, takes a script, has a bunch of people go stand around and booze, and boom, it comes together. It's not that easy. You have to sit down, look at the story, look at what you've already covered, because you don't want to bash the viewer's brains in with the repeated facts that they probably already know from a previous chapter. Plus, you've got the actual sound editing itself, and when you're doing a show, you got to do lighting, video editing, stuff like that. In case somebody had a booger hanging out their nose, you got to CGI that out. So stuff like that. But in audio, like I said, it takes. Oh heck! Once I have all the lines in, because remember, we're not all doing this in a studio, so the quality is never going to be Big Finish quality. But once you have all that in, it takes a few hours, if not more, to edit one chapter together, depending on the length, the number of characters, because we've got a lot of characters involved in this story. And the more characters in one scene, oh my goodness, the more complicated it gets. And also you got to do background music. You got to make sure, what type of room they're in, so you know what kind of reverb to set. Plus I have filters that take out background noises, and I got to make sure those are set right. So that way, their actual recording sounds a lot better than one that got it. But I'm just saying this, before you sit down and judge a program, be it TV, radio, or anything like that, I want you to sit down and think of all the people it took just to bring you that 1 hour or how many minutes of programming that you're listening to or watching. It's a lot harder than it looks, folks, and I can now speak from experience. Good night, everyone. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good one. Later, kiddies.